2, 1.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast. Did you know? Brought to you by Mallard Bay. For all your hunting and fishing outfit needs, holler at Mallard Bay. They can take care of you with Guide Tech. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
I am right on time today. I'm on point with the music and all the chingalinging and all that good stuff. So,
you want me to go or are you going to go?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So, you might be wondering, as most people are, I understand, very hot topic, what happened to the 12 apostles? We all know what happened to Jesus, died for our sins, came back 3 days later. What happened to the 12 guys he was running with?
They died.
I'm going to tell you how.
I got that part right, though, right?
They did.
Okay.
They did. All but one was murdered for following Jesus.
All but one?
All but one.
So being a follower of Christianity.
Of the
11.
The Word
11.
made flesh. The 12. Here's what happened to the 12 apostles.
And 11 died for murdered.
Yeah, pretty brutally.
Well, that was quick. Did you know?
So here we'll break it down. Christians were widely persecuted, and most apostles faced brutal martyrdoms. I got that word all wrong, for their teachings. Judas, we all know Judas, died before the resurrection. Consumed by guilt, he returned the 30 pieces of silver he received for betraying Christ, and he hung himself near Jerusalem. First to be martyred was James the Greater, brother of John. Herod was desperate to suppress the growing movement in Judea and had him beheaded before a crowd in Jerusalem in 44 BC. Emperor Nero was especially cruel, scapegoating Christians for the fire of 64 AD and branding them enemies of the state. Mass executions took place at his circuses, of which St. Peter was one. Peter bravely took his ministries to the center of the globe, Rome, making him a major target for Nero. Insisting he wasn't worthy of dying like Christ, he had the Romans crucify him upside down. So that's not good. Peter's legacy lives on as the first pope, and majestic altar of St. Peter's Basilia stands just meters from where he was killed. His bones were only discovered in 1968, right beneath the altar floor where they were most expected. Peter's brother Andrew also died on the cross. Although traveling through Asia Minor and Greece, Roman authorities caught up with him in Patras and strung him up on an X-shaped cross, which is now the national flag of Scotland. So I'm assuming Patras is present-day Scotland. Philip, executed in Hierapolis for converting the wife of a proconsul, don't know what that is, was crucified upside down. As he hung there, he continued preaching, as tradition holds, and he wasn't the only one. Bartholomew was skinned alive for converting the king of Armenia, but apparently kept preaching to a rap audience as they peeled off his skin. Executions got even more brutal from that. Simon the Zealot and Jude traveled together to Persia, where Jude was beaten to death with clubs. Simon, however, was sewn in half by authorities, so they cut him right in half. Some apostles traveled even further. Doubting Thomas preached in India and later became a patron saint, although locals eventually came for him with spears. Matthias, who replaced Judas as the 12th apostle, is thought to have journeyed as far as Ethiopia, but local pagans beheaded him. Matthew, the redeemed tax collector turned gospel writer, also got to Ethiopia by many traditions. Again, he died. He was martyred for his words, hacked to death with swords and spears. Others faced death in Jerusalem. James the Less was called to deny Jesus before a large crowd from atop the temple. Instead, he proclaimed Christ as the Savior before being thrown from the building and killed by a mob. Only John died of natural causes. It is thought he lived until 100 AD, exiled on the island of Patmos, where the book of Revelations came to him in a set of startling visions. So that is what happened to the 12 apostles. John died on the island of Patmos. Now, I got one more. So, did you know... Where'd it go? Easy now. George Washington never knew that dinosaurs existed. As George died in 1799, the first dinosaur fossil was not found until 1824.
I could see where they wouldn't have done that. Yeah.
Never knew. If the entire history of the universe was placed on a single calendar year, humans would not come onto the calendar until 11:59 p.m. on December 31st. That is how vast everything has been up until us. The guillotine was still France's official execution method when Star Wars debuted. France's last state-sanctioned guillotine execution was in 1977, the same year Star Wars was released.
You know, they say when they do that, that you can still see your, as a
I
head,
think so.
your
I heard
eyes
that.
still are.
One of the tutors, I read this a couple nights ago. She was set to be executed by guillotine following morning. She asked for a block to be brought into her prison cell so she could practice. She'd lay her head down and I don't know. So that's what she did.
Interesting.
The University of Oxford is older than the Aztec Empire. The University of Oxford first opens its doors to students all the way back in 1096. The Aztec Empire is said to have originated the year of 1325. So Oxford's a very old place.
Yes, it is.
Sharks are older than trees. Sharks are survivors persisting through all 5 major global extinctions in various forms over 450 million years. Not even trees have lived this long, as they first appeared on Earth around 380 million years ago. So sharks are 100 million years older than trees, approximately. Nintendo was founded when Jack the Ripper was still on the loose and when the Eiffel Tower was opened in 1889.
What was Nintendo?
Nintendo.
No.
Nintendo. Look it up. Look it up. Fact check me. The Great Pyramid was older to the Romans than the Romans are to us. The Roman Empire was established around 27 BC, which means that the Imperial Romans looked at the pyramids the same way we look back at them. So
Interesting.
a day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus. It takes 243 Earth days for Venus to rotate once, but it only takes 225 days for Venus to orbit the sun. That is a did you know. Eastern Roman Empire fell only 40 years before Christopher Columbus landed in the Americas. This means that plenty of people who once considered themselves Romans heard of the discovery of the New World. The 10th president of the United States, John Tyler, born in 1790, still has a grandson that is alive today. John Tyler, 10th president in the United States, had a son, Lion Tyler, at the age of 63. Lion went on to have children late in his life as well, including Harrison Tyler, who is alive today and is currently 94 years old. Humans made it to the moon only 66 years after the Wright brothers successfully performed their first flight. So a lot of information was going on then. The Ottoman Empire was still around when Walt Disney released his first cartoon. The precise end date of the empire is typically stated as 1922. Disney released his first animated cartoon in 1920. Woolly mammoths were still alive while Egyptians were building the pyramids around 2550 BC. Skip that one. You can fit all of human history and then some between the periods when the Stegosaurus and the T-Rex existed. The Stegosaurus lived around 150 million years ago. The T-Rex did not appear until about 68 million years ago. I did not know that there was any difference between that.
No.
That one's boring. I don't like that one. The Oregon Trail was first used in 1843, the year the fax machine was invented. And that's all I got.
Okay, here we go. Since you talked about woolly mammoths, that kind of fletched into mine. Okay, we're talking about, we want to buy Greenland. What was the biggest purchase the United States ever did? I'll help you. It's
like money-wise or
Yes.
acre-wise?
No, acre-wise.
The Louisiana Purchase.
Yep. That's the most valuable purchase our country ever did. I would think Alaska, number 2, and Manhattan, number 3.
Okay.
Okay, Lewis and Clark first met after being court-martialed by the Army, is how they first met. Lewis had served as Thomas Jefferson's secretary. They grew up right down the road from each other. So when he decided he was going to do this great deal and send this big discovery that he was going to use Lewis, Thomas Jefferson believed the expedition might encounter woolly mammoths because they still thought maybe some of them existed. Now, The Spanish actually tried to stop this exploration, and they sent 3 different parties out to stop the Lewis and Clark expeditions, but they never could find them.
Well, that's good.
Yep. Clark brought an enslaved man on the journey, black gentleman. They also had a young lady on their Sacagawea.
Yep.
They did a vote one time to stay where they were going to vote, where they were going to winter at. Sacagawea and the black gentleman. I'm trying to think of his dang name. I can't think of it. I saw it earlier.
Was it Uncle Tom?
They called him they called him Big Medicine.
Oh.
The time I had it earlier. And I had a damn brain fart. And I still can't see his name. Hadn't showed it again.
Ken Burns?
We'll call him Ken Burns then. And so, anyways,
York.
Is that his name? Was York?
York, a frontiersman, hunter, and likely the first African American to cross the continent.
York and Sacagawea both got to vote on where they got to stay. First time a man and a minority got to vote on anything ever. Lewis and Clark also, their arsenal included 200 pounds of gunpowder, and they had a air gun. And we've talked about this before. They had an air gun that could shoot 220 rounds.
Wow.
After pumping compressed air into the gun stock, he could fire some 20 shots, each of them almost completely silent. That's pretty crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Sacagawea on the journey ran into her long lost brother during the journey, and only one member died on the whole thing.
Who was it? York?
Just one of their Sergeant Charles Floyd died near modern day Sioux City, Iowa. Lewis diagnosed him having bile loss colic, but they figured out he died of a ruptured appendix. Ooh. Lewis later died. He tried to kill himself twice. They ended up finding him at the Natchez Trail in Louisiana dead. He'd been shot in the chest and the head, and they still think it was probably from suicide.
Shot himself in the chest.
Yeah, he was a big
fast
drinker.
Enough, and then
they think.
Right.
And then Clark adopted Sacagawea's children after she died. His son's name was Jean Baptiste, and Jean went off to send him to school. He went across to Europe, did some stuff, came back, and become a frontiersman too. But anyways, that was the Louisiana Purchase, and it was a very interesting thing because if it wasn't for the Louisiana Purchase, we wouldn't have Western United States. One of the best things our country ever did to expand with the deal of Greenland. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to talk about Iceland since I'm going to be going to Iceland pretty soon, I hope. Did you know that 60% of Iceland's population lives in the capital city of Reykjavik, or however you say it?
That doesn't shock me.
There's 360,000 people live in Iceland, and 180,000 of them live in one town. Iceland was the last place on Earth to be settled by humans. The last continent, the last island, the last anything. And many Icelanders believe in elves and trolls. You can swim outdoors in hot springs all year round. Iceland was the most eco-friendly countries in the world. Now, this is one of the thing I found was kind of interesting. Beer was banned in Iceland until 1989. They had prohibition for a long time. Started in 1950 and lived in 1989. It lived at 74 years without even being able to have beer for sale there.
Wow.
11% of Iceland is covered by glaciers. Now, this is really funny. How many people, what do you think the percentages are of people that are published book writers in Iceland? There's 360,000 people there.
I will say 3%.
10% of the population of Iceland are authors.
Huh.
So anyways, I thought that was pretty.
Got nothing better to do.
Yep. A pretty interesting deal to do. There also is one of the first countries in the world to bring a nationwide recycling fee for drink cans and bottles. Guess what Iceland doesn't have? An army, a navy. They have a coast guard that works a little bit. They have very little of that going on. So very, very low crime there. Pretty interesting. My last little thing, since you talk so long, I'm trying to make this longer. I'll cut some mine off to for my next time. Did you know? I got to find the dang things now. Here we go. What do you think are the 5 most popular salad dressings in the United States?
Ranch, Thousand Island Caesar, Italian, and blue cheese.
You were 4 of the 5.
Damn.
Thousand Island is 5. Italian's 3. Caesar's 2. Ranch is number 1.
Which one did I miss?
Balsamic vinaigrette is number 4.
Ah, that makes sense.
I'm not a balsamic vinaigrette guy.
I love it. Love it. Oh, yeah.
I like Russian dressing also.
I can get down with Putin.
Your mom makes and your wife makes something too. I call it Mexican surprise
salad.
Or whatever it is. It's got the
Catalina.
Is that what it's got? Catalina in
Catalina.
it? And I like Catalina too, but it's got Catalina del Fritos
and just salad.
A salad. No, beans are in it too. It's really a very good salad and some cheese. Very good. All right. Thank y'all for listening. Did you know by Mallard Bay? Peace. God bless and have a great day.
Bye-bye.